Actor Menglong falls from fifth floor, entire nation silenced until torture video is leaked. The dawn was still trembling when the news first broke. A single headline, for short words, Menglong falls from fifth floor. No photos, no footage, just whispers that scattered like ash in the early light. Within hours, every corner of the nation was holding its breath. Security cameras in the eastern district of Beijing had gone dark that night. Maintenance, they said. Neighbors reported hearing a dull sound, like a curtain dropping at the end of a play. By the time emergency lights painted the walls red and blue, the actor who had once lit entire screens with his smile was lying unconscious beside a cracked railing. Hospitals spoke in riddles. His team remained unreachable. And the few who dared post questions online saw their accounts vanish within minutes. The silence was too loud to ignore. For months, Menglong had been missing from sets. Rumors whispered of a contract dispute, of a film that had been halted mid-shoot because someone wanted him gone. He was said to have recorded something, not a scene, but a confession. A message to his fans about what really happened behind the golden lights of fame. But that message never surfaced. Instead, insiders claimed, he was summoned to a meeting that night on the fifth floor of an unnamed studio building, a place he knew too well, a place where his first drama had once wrapped in laughter and applause. Witnesses saw black vans parked outside long after midnight. A janitor later said he heard arguing, one voice trembling, another calm but cold. Then came a silence so sharp it felt staged. Moments later, the crash. The official report claimed he lost balance while taking a phone call. But there were no call logs. No CCTV footage. And the phone itself was missing when paramedics arrived. Within a day, the internet was on fire. Hashtags appeared and disappeared like phantom smoke, hashtag where is Menglong, hashtag fifth floor truth, hashtag silence after fall. His co-stars avoided interviews, production companies declined to comment. The government issued no statement, yet invisible hands seemed to erase every attempt to uncover what had happened. But fans remembered the silence contract, the story that had supposedly been fiction, but now seemed like prophecy. Had you been living the script he once pretended to act? Then, 3 weeks later, an anonymous channel uploaded a short, blurred clip. It lasted only 16 seconds. No faces were visible, only shadows, a table, and a faint voice that sounded like his. The air in the video seemed heavy, trembling under fluorescent lights that flickered as if afraid to shine. He wasn't screaming. He was whispering, the kind of whisper that carries more power than a shout. "Do you think silence saves you?" The voice asked, trembling but defiant. Then came the sound of something metallic sliding, a chair, maybe, and the video cut to black. The nation froze. No one could confirm its authenticity, but the timing, the tone, the trembling of that single phrase, it all matched the night of the fall. Within hours, every platform was flooded with the same message. If this is fake, then why is everyone afraid to say it? The clip was gone within minutes. Authorities called it AI fabrication. But digital forensics experts who managed to download fragments said the file name carried a chilling signature. Y.ml_05F_truth, a pattern matching Menglong's previous film codes. Those who analyzed the audio noticed something else. In the background of the recording, you could faintly hear rain, though that night had been reported dry. Meaning the video had not been recorded on the rooftop where he fell. It was taken elsewhere, before the fall. When Menglong finally regained consciousness weeks later, he was moved to a private facility. No media was allowed near him. Even his mother was seen crying outside the hospital gate, denied entry for security reasons. Yet somehow, photos began leaking, of flowers by his bedside, of a bracelet on his wrist that spelled the word remember. Those images traveled faster than any official statement. Fans began gathering at filming studios, chanting, "Remember him." They weren't just speaking of the man, they were speaking of what he had come to represent. The silenced, the framed, the fallen who dared to rise again. A producer who had worked with you under strict anonymity told reporters. He was too honest. Too clean. In this business, truth is the most dangerous script you can hold. Others claimed he had been negotiating his freedom from a powerful agency, one known for its invisible reach and immaculate public facade. When he refused a contract renewal that demanded silence, negotiations turned into threats. The meeting on the fifth floor, many now believe, was never meant to discuss business, but obedience. For the first time, state channels began to falter. Anchors read their teleprompters too quickly, skipping his name as if it burned their tongues. Yet the people were already speaking for him. Poems flooded social media disguised as fan art. Each line held coded messages. The bird that flew from the 5th floor still sings, one read. Underground journalists pieced together a timeline showing that several surveillance servers were wiped the same hour he fell. An accident? Or a cleanup? The more they uncovered, the more the silence grew. Months passed, until one evening, a foreign blogger uploaded a clearer version of the same leaked clip. This time, the shadows were sharper, and behind Yu's trembling silhouette, you could see a mirror. In that mirror, faint, distorted, was the outline of another person holding a phone. The realization spread like lightning. He hadn't fallen, he had been filmed. And in that moment, the story turned from tragedy to evidence. Suddenly, hashtags re-emerged. Petitions crossed 1 million signatures in hours. Even actors who had once stayed silent began to post cryptic captions. "A truth too bright to hide," wrote one. "The 5th floor has windows, and we all saw what they tried to cover," wrote another. Television hosts, once censored, began referencing the case under metaphors, the man who stood too close to truth and was pushed by silence. The nation was no longer silenced. They were singing, quietly, but together. When Menglong finally appeared again, frail, pale, but unbroken, it wasn't on stage or screen. It was through a handwritten note posted by his verified account. The post simply read, "They tried to make me forget the truth. But truth remembers everyone who falls for it." The post gathered 30 million shares in a single day before disappearing, replaced by an error code. But screenshots lived on. So did the silence, now transformed into something stronger, resolve. Today, the 5th floor building stands deserted, cordoned off yet decorated with origami birds left by fans. At night, the street below glows with candles spelling 05F. No one speaks of it on television, yet everyone knows what it means. Directors have started embedding hidden references to Yu's story in new dramas. A falling paper plane, a flickering light, a whisper that says, "Remember me." It has become a secret language, a shared rebellion wrapped in art. Weeks later, sound engineers revisited the leaked clip for one last analysis. Deep within the static, layered beneath the whisper, they found a heartbeat, slow, steady, deliberate. It wasn't background noise. It was intentional, recorded separately, added with precision. That heartbeat became a symbol. Streaming platforms began using it as a hidden Easter egg in fan-made tributes. Every pulse, every beat, reminded viewers that silence could be broken, rhythmically, relentlessly, like a truth that refused to die. And as the nation watched from behind screens, one realization echoed louder than any news headline. You can erase names, delete files, silence stories. But you can't kill the sound of a heartbeat that remembers. Menglong's fall was never just a tragedy, it became a mirror reflecting a system too afraid of truth and a people too strong to forget it. The leaked video, blurred, trembling, and fleeting, turned into a symbol of courage that even censorship couldn't smother. Today, whether or not the full truth ever surfaces, one thing remains certain. The silence that once followed his fall has now become a chorus. Millions of voices whispering the same vow across a sleepless nation. We remember. The city had barely awakened when the ambulance left the scene. Dawn was only a smear of silver over glass towers, but the air already carried a strange stillness, as if the streets themselves were holding their breath. Reporters gathered by the cordon, shivering not from the cold, but from something unspoken that pulsed beneath the headlines. Menglong's name had always meant light, calm, precision, grace. Yet that morning, it was painted in red across every whispering mouth. The 5th floor of the building loomed like a wound above the crowd, its shattered railings still glinting under sirens. But something about it didn't add up. The glass had broken outward, not in. A young reporter tried to ask the officer in charge if there had been a struggle. The officer's reply was clipped, mechanical. Accidental fall during personal call. No further questions. His eyes never met hers. But a witness stepped forward, a delivery man who had dropped a package near the building that night. He claimed he saw you standing by the balcony, speaking softly into a phone. Behind him, a shadow moved, taller, broader. The man swore he saw you turn, startled, before the lights flickered and the sound of impact shattered the silence. Yet the next day, that witness vanished. His social media wiped. His account deactivated. Inside the hospital, the air smelled of disinfectant and secrecy. Yu lay surrounded by machines, his face pale but peaceful, as if he had fallen not from a height, but from the edge of trust itself. His fingers were bruised in a pattern that looked almost deliberate, as though he had clung to something, or someone, before he let go. Doctors were instructed not to speak. Nurses whispered between shifts that the actor's team had arrived with special paperwork. No one dared look too long. Hours after the fall, a man in a black suit entered the hospital through a back entrance. He carried no identification, but everyone moved aside when he passed. He spent exactly 6 minutes in Yu's room, then left without a word. Later, the CCTV footage from that wing went missing. Technical error, they said. Outside, fans began lighting candles. Some prayed, some protested. But one fan posted a photo that shook the internet, the 5th-floor railing, zoomed in, revealing a faint handprint on the concrete. The handprint wasn't where someone falling would reach, it was higher, as if someone had been lifted or pushed from above. Online debates ignited. Was it an accident, or something orchestrated? Every second felt like a scene in a movie no one had agreed to film. Meanwhile, a janitor who worked in the building claimed he had found a torn piece of fabric on the 5th floor near the balcony. The color matched Yu's shirt from that evening, but it was scorched at the edge, as if touched by fire. The building manager confiscated it instantly. When asked why, he simply said, "Safety inspection." But beneath the whispers and the wiped cameras, there was something even more chilling. A faint message appeared on one of Yu's fan accounts, posted at 3:11 a.m., the exact time of his fall. It read, "They said silence is safer. But silence has teeth." The post vanished after 3 minutes, yet screenshots survived. Experts later confirmed the writing pattern matched Yu's private online style. Reporters started piecing things together. The meeting he was supposed to attend that night had been called by a producer whose name was suddenly missing from industry databases. Employees in the building recalled that the 5th floor lights were left on long after midnight, even though no one was supposed to be there. And then there was the elevator log, erased from the system, except for one last entry. Time, 2:57 a.m. Destination, floor 5. Name, unknown guest. No return recorded. A journalist from a small independent outlet tried to publish these findings, but her article was taken down within hours. Her apology statement appeared the next morning, robotic, detached, likely written by someone else. But before it vanished, she left one last line buried at the bottom of her blog. The truth didn't fall that night. It was pushed. The public started noticing something uncanny. In old interviews, Yu had spoken cryptically about the pressures of fame. He once said, "Sometimes, the higher they lift you, the easier it is to let you fall." No one had understood back then how literal his words might become. Days turned into weeks, yet the mystery only deepened. A cleaner assigned to the 5th floor reported hearing music at odd hours, the soft, haunting melody from one of Yu's earlier dramas, the same one where his character jumped from a balcony to escape betrayal. She swore she heard footsteps, too, slow, deliberate, pacing the corridor as if rehearsing a scene no one wanted to remember. Even the air in that hallway seemed to carry a memory, a faint trace of perfume, the scent of tension, the echo of something unfinished. Then came the night when fans gathered outside the hospital holding lanterns shaped like falling stars. They sang one of his songs softly, their voices trembling in unison. Inside, Yu's monitors flickered. The lights dimmed for a second. And though no official record mentions it, a nurse claimed he whispered something in his sleep that night. The 5th floor wasn't high enough to bury truth. By morning, hospital security had doubled. Visitors were restricted. And yet, from somewhere deep within the silence, a new photo surfaced, a black and white shot showing Yu's reflection in a hospital mirror. His eyes were closed, but his lips seemed to form a faint smile, almost as if he knew the world was still listening. That image became the heartbeat of the movement. Everywhere across social media, the same caption echoed, "He didn't fall, he rose." Soon after, the building where it all happened was sealed for renovation. But the 5th floor window remained cracked, untouched, unrepaired. Locals said every night at 3:11, the same time as the fall, a light glows faintly from behind that window. Some think it's electrical interference. Others say it's the truth, refusing to die quietly. And as the silence spreads, one fact becomes painfully clear. Menglong's fall was never an ending. It was the beginning of a revelation too heavy for walls, too bright for shadows, too human to be erased. The world is still waiting for the official story. But no one truly needs it anymore. Because deep down, they all heard it, that faint heartbeat in the silence, the whisper behind the walls, the truth that still stands on the fifth floor. Waiting to be seen. Subscribe for more drama stories.